So, at this point, you might be thinking, okay, I need a research question. I understand now why. How do I go about getting one? And what if I come up with something that is not good enough? Well, let's see if we can avert that particular trouble by looking first at what kind of questions count as good ones. First and foremost, a good research question is focused. It addresses one problem or issue. It is not all over the place. It allows you as a researcher to look for specific instances that will help you answer it, rather than scatter your attention all over. While advanced and professional researchers often have more than one research question with relevant sub-questions, I encourage you in this class to pick one that you can actually research. In other words, you can find evidence that will help you answer it. For example, asking, are bilingual people more sensitive to others' needs than monolingual people? Is not researchable. What needs do you mean, and how do you measure sensitivity to the needs of others, and how do you correlate that with bilingualism? This question contains so many subjective variables that it is simply not possible to collect any data to provide an answer to it. However, asking, in which jobs advertised on fill-in-the-blank job board is bilingualism presented as an asset? That allows you a clear path to finding an answer. The question is researchable. A good research question is also feasible, which means that you, with the material, emotional, and temporal means that you have, can pursue the answer. For example, while some questions can be quite researchable with 100 or more interviews, they are more for like a dissertation or a book. You don't have the time and the resources to interview 100 people in one semester. And while some data can be analyzed using complex statistical procedures, if you know little about stats, your question should not depend on such data. Next, a good research question is specific. You should be able to answer it thoroughly, or at least have a reasonable chance of doing so at the outset. For instance, much as a field study of language attitudes in the US sounds fascinating, it's too broad. That is unfocused. It's also too amorphous. Which language? Spoken by whom? Whose attitudes are we talking about? Attitudes to what? Speakers, teaching, and so on and so forth. It is also too gigantic. It's not feasible with your current resources and within one semester. If you were interested in language attitudes, you'd have to specify a particular language and a particular group of people who might reasonably have some attitudes about it, and whom you can ask or survey about such attitudes. Next, a good research question is complex. And by that, I don't mean long, convoluted, and full of jargon. I mean that the answer has potential consequences. For example, investigating whether language in advertising is gendered will provide us with insights on how to write better advertising, and to a degree to discuss better for whom and for what. Investigating how non-binary individuals self-identify in peer groups puts the power of choosing identifying language to the group of these people rather than outsiders, and so on. Your course project may not change the world, but it will provide knowledge and awareness that you and your peers can benefit from as individuals and future professionals in whatever field you choose. Finally, a good research question is relevant, and not just to the subject matter of the course you're taking. That's pretty much self-evident. Your research project in this class should be on language and society. It should be relevant to somebody somewhere else. Somebody should care about the answers you will get, even if in this class it is only you and your classmates. But I guarantee you, if you are interested in the answers, somebody else is as well. So when you design your research question, keep your potential audience in mind. You are doing this project not merely to complete a requirement in the course and get a grade, but to answer a question for somebody who wants to know as much as you do. By now, you're probably thinking that that's a lot of information to keep in mind, and you're right. But as we delve into our next issue, where to get your research question, you will see that all these criteria, from the focus to the relevance, are part and parcel of the places that also inspire research questions. Advanced researchers often find research questions by identifying a gap in existing knowledge. They read a lot on the topic and discover that nobody covered a particular area or covered it insufficiently or one-sidedly, and they decide to embark on finding a more encompassing answer. But one need not go through the whole library section on sociolinguistics to find a question you can investigate in this class. After all, we're looking at language use in society, and we all live in a society. So look around you and notice some puzzle, some unresolved issue, some matter of curiosity to you. Do you switch from one language to another when talking to particular people, even though they speak all the same language as you do? Do your younger siblings or your children have slang words you don't understand? Did you develop some new vocabulary after you started playing a new online game? Does a coworker talk about women or men in a particular way that rubs you the wrong way, but you can't put your finger on the reason why? Did you read an article and immediately understood that it was satire, even though it was not explicitly marked as such? How did you know? All those are valid areas to investigate. And finally, since this subject is new to you, you'll be reading some book chapters and research articles that raise a question or two you don't know the answer to. These questions may come up in the discussion exercises or even on Blackboard. It is completely fair game for you to dig into these questions deeper in your project. The main thing is to find something that interests you, that excites your passion, and that makes you want to say, I want to know. And if you want to know something, you are on the way to formulating a good research question. Now let's talk about how you actually write a research question you're going to submit, and of course investigate. You already selected a topic, and that is the first step. Let's say your broad topic is early childhood bilingualism, and you are interested in it because you grew up bilingual. But you notice that your older siblings are a lot more fluent in the native language of your parents than you are, and you are mostly an English speaker. So read up on the topic a bit. Your textbook and the assigned articles are a good place to start. But you can also go to the library and search for articles on early childhood bilingualism. Or you can do some reading of reputable sources online, websites for parents, some university sites distilling the topic for the general public, and so on. Just type your topic into a Google search and use your source evaluation skills you gained in your lower division GE classes to pick the ones that are credible. Once you've thought and read about the topic a bit, narrow down the issue to make it a little bit more feasible. You were wondering about why you don't speak your heritage language as well as your older siblings despite growing up in the same neighborhood, with the same parents, going to the same schools. You also have read that the social environment of language acquisition can affect how proficient early bilinguals become. Maybe that will be your niche, the social environment of early bilingual acquisition. Now, turn this into a focused, researchable, feasible, specific, complex, and relevant question. What social factors influence the language preference of young bilinguals? Boom, you've got your question. You're ready to go. And that's it, folks. See you in class.